I walked into what used to be a garage. No heat, no curtains, just a mattress on the floor and my wedding photo shoved in a corner. That was the first night I stopped being someone's mother and became someone's burden. It was early January. Cold in the kind of way that creeps into your joints and settles there, reminding you just how many years you've lived. I remember the echo of my footsteps on the concrete floor, the faint smell of oil that no candle could cover, and the thin blanket folded neatly on the edge of the mattress like I was a guest, not family. Before we begin, what country are you watching from? And just out of curiosity, what time is it for you right now? Wherever you are, we're so glad you're here. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. This is just for a little while, Mom, Ryan had said, his arm grazing mine but not staying there. Once things settle down, but things never settle down in houses where you're not wanted. I sat on the mattress, my knees creaking, and pulled the blanket over my lap. My breath fogged in front of me. Above me, a bare bulb flickered. And in the corner, almost hidden behind an old stroller and a box of Christmas decorations, was the wedding photo of me and Charles. Young, bright-eyed, newly in love, not yet knowing we'd have a son who would put me in a garage. I'm 69. My name is Evelyn Rose Hart. Widowed last spring. 37 years married to Charles, a man who could be hard, quiet, stubborn, but who never once made me feel invisible. We met at a church social, bonded over both being the last ones to leave because we couldn't find our rides. He used to say I had the kind of eyes that looked like they were always about to cry, not in a sad way, but like I felt things deeply. I suppose I always did. After Charles passed, a stroke, fast and cruel, I sold the house. It felt too big, too quiet, too full of memories that clung like old wallpaper. Ryan offered to take me in. His words, offered like a favor, like a badge of honor he'd wear when people asked how he was doing since the funeral. His wife, Leslie, wasn't cruel, just the kind of polite that feels like a locked door, always smiling with her mouth, never with her eyes. She referred to me as your mom, even when I was in the room. As in, is your mum going to stay much longer in the kitchen? I need to prep for my Zoom. The main house was modern and neat, filled with granite countertops and too many throw pillows. Their daughter, Lily, my granddaughter, was 10 and already knew how to close a door without slamming it, just firmly enough to say, "Leave me alone." There was no place for me there, so Ryan said I could stay in the garage. The garage had been converted into a kind of half-finished studio. Years ago, they started fixing it up as a guest space, but ran out of money or motivation. No insulation, barely any outlets. The door stuck when it rained. A dusty bookshelf leaned against the wall like it was too tired to hold anything. "It's just for a while," Ryan repeated whenever I tried to ask for more time in the kitchen or use the washer during the day. "You get it, right? We just need balance." "Of course," I would say, though inside I felt myself disappearing. I cooked instant oatmeal on a plug-in hot plate. I used the bathroom in the main house, but learned to time it between Leslie's meetings and Lily's ballet lessons. I watched my shows on an old tablet and knitted scarves I had no one to give to. One afternoon, I overheard them talking, through the thin door that didn't fully close. They thought I was out on my daily walk. "I just think it's weird, Ryan," Leslie whispered. "We're hosting clients next month. What am I supposed to say? That your mother lives in the garage? She's not hurting anyone." "It's awkward," she said sharply. "There's no privacy. I feel like I can't relax in my own home when she's around. And if we're having people over, it's just uncomfortable." "I know," he sighed. "We'll figure it out. She won't be here forever." I stood frozen, my hands trembling in my coat pockets. My scarf had caught in the doorframe, like even the house wanted me gone. At night, I talked to Charles, out loud sometimes, quiet, like a prayer. Would you believe this? I whispered once, holding our wedding photo like a relic. Our son, the boy you taught to throw a baseball. He thinks this is enough for me. Grief doesn't hit all at once. It comes in layers. First the loss, then the loneliness, and finally the shame. Sometimes, when they had guests over, I was asked to stay in the garage, so things wouldn't be confusing. Once, when Leslie hosted a birthday dinner for one of her co-workers, I tried to step into the house to use the bathroom before everyone arrived. I was dressed modestly, clean slacks, a cardigan, soft makeup. But when she saw me coming down the hallway, she froze. "Oh," she said, blinking with a tight smile. "Are you planning to be around for the dinner?" I hesitated. "No, just needed the bathroom." "Well," she said, lowering her voice as she leaned in, "it's just, I've told them the house is ours, entirely, that we renovated everything ourselves. It's a weird story if you're here. You know what I mean?" I didn't know what she meant. Later that night, I heard her laughing in the kitchen, and one of the guests said, "Wait, your mother-in-law lives here?" "Where?" Leslie lowered her voice. "But not enough." "Oh, she's in the garage. Charles left us with some obligations. Ryan's sweet about it, but it's complicated. We're basically her caretakers." Caretakers. Like I was a patient in decline. And then she added with a glassy laugh, "She's harmless. Just very old school. Like, she doesn't get Wi-Fi and once thought my electric toothbrush was a marital aid." Bless her heart. The whole room laughed. I stood in the dark, behind the cracked garage door, hearing them mock me over wine and cheese I'd helped pay for. That night, I didn't cry. I sat on the mattress and stared at the ceiling. My tea went cold in my hands. They didn't see me as a mother, or a woman who had built a life. I was a running joke with good timing. Someone you kept out of sight, but who still folded your laundry when you were busy. When Leslie passed by the garage the next day, she didn't apologize. She just knocked once and said, "Could you try not to be near the patio tomorrow afternoon? We're doing a work brunch, and it's going to be pretty visible from the side window." I nodded. It was late March when the letter arrived. An envelope, yellowed slightly with age, forwarded from our old address. Inside, a quarterly statement from an investment firm I didn't recognize. My name was on it. So was Charles. Curious, I called the number. After verifying a stack of security questions, I was transferred to a man named Harold Klein, who paused for a long time after I introduced myself. "Mrs. Hart? Evelyn Hart? Charles's wife?" "Yes," I said. "Widow now." He went quiet again, then cleared his throat. "I was Charles's accountant. We worked together on a few long-term holdings. It's been a while." I asked him, gently, if he could explain what I'd just received. He did more than that. He invited me to coffee. Harold was in his 70s, white-haired, still in tailored wool coats and wingtip shoes. We met at a quiet cafe near the beach, where seagulls circled like ghosts and the salt air cut through the gloom. "I should have contacted you sooner," he said. "But I wasn't sure what the family situation was." "You mean you weren't sure if I mattered?" He winced. "I meant I didn't want to step on toes. But yes, you mattered. In fact, you still do." Charles, it turned out, had invested in a small real estate fund back in the late 90s. A modest portfolio of shared properties, one of which included partial ownership of a house purchased in Ryan's name, but under a joint family trust. My name was on the trust. "You own 1/3, Harold said. "Of my son's house?" "Legally, yes." I felt the world tilt a little, like the cafe chair had shifted beneath me. "I never signed anything." You didn't have to. It was all done before he added their names to the deed. I thought of the mattress, the cold concrete, the wedding photo in the corner. Can I whispered, not finishing. Yes, he said. You can do whatever you like. I didn't say anything right away. I went home, if you could call it that, and sat in the garage staring at the ceiling for a long time. The air was thin and stale. Someone upstairs was vacuuming. I could hear the thump of furniture being moved, a woman's laugh, Leslie's, and a man's voice I didn't recognize. Guests. Again. I hadn't been told. I was expected to stay invisible. That night, I opened a new notebook. I didn't write in it. Not at first. I just touched the pages, ran my fingers along the binding like it was a door to somewhere else. I hadn't kept a journal in years, but something in me stirred, an ache that felt like a match being struck. The next morning, I met Harold again. We walked this time. Along the cliffs, wind in our hair, the sea below us as constant and loud as memory. He brought me printouts, account balances, trust documents, highlighted lines with my name. You've been entitled to it this whole time, he said gently. Charles never removed you. He just trusted Ryan to do right by you. I felt a strange mix of pride and fury. My husband had trusted our son more than he should have, and Ryan had trusted I wouldn't ask questions. I don't want to make this ugly, I said. I'm not looking to sue anyone. Harold smiled. There are ways to make a point without raising your voice. I gave myself a few days to think. Then, one afternoon, while Leslie was out and Ryan was fiddling with the lawn sprinklers, I made myself a cup of tea, sat across from my son, and told him I'd be leaving. Oh, he said, not even looking up. You found a senior center? No, I replied. A suite, downtown. It has room service and real heat. It's quiet. I'll be there for 6 months. He finally looked up. Wait, what? I'm giving you space, I said calmly, so you can host your parties without worrying about awkward relatives. He blinked. But how? Mom, that's expensive. Are you using the money from the house? You said you were putting that into your retirement. I'm not asking you for anything, I said, sipping my tea. I'm taking it out of my share of this house. He went pale. What share? I handed him a copy of the trust statement. The one with my name on the title, signed by his father. You gave me the garage, I said. Now I'm using my third to cover the suite. I'll send you the invoices. He stared at the paper like it was written in fire. Leslie's not going to like this, I shrugged. She didn't like me living in the garage either. Maybe she'll like this better. The hotel was nothing outrageous. A long-stay suite with a kitchenette, a soft bed, and warm lighting that didn't hum or flicker. The lobby had a grand piano and fresh flowers. A young woman at the front desk called me Miss Hart and asked how my day was, like I was someone that mattered. I cried the first night. Not out of sadness, out of relief. No one knocked. No one asked me to move my things or told me I was in the way. I made tea in real ceramic cups and watched movies under an actual quilt. The staff gave me a plant for the windowsill. I named it Charles. I didn't tell Lily I was leaving. I left a scarf I'd made in her closet, purple, her favorite, and a note that said, "For winter, love, Grandma." Ryan texted me after 3 weeks. Just, "We should talk." I ignored it. He called once. I let it ring. Every Friday, Harold and I had breakfast. We talked about books and aging and regret. He had lost his wife 10 years ago. After a while, he said, you start to know yourself in a different way. Loneliness does that. I told him I wasn't lonely anymore, just free. 6 months passed like a breath. The hotel became my home. I wrote letters I never sent, stitched throw pillows I donated to the women's shelter, read all the novels I hadn't let myself read when I was busy being a wife and mother. Leslie sent an email through Ryan. No greeting, just, "We're selling the house. It's too big. We'll need you to sign some documents to clear the title." I wrote back, "Happy to, once we settle the accounting from my 6-month stay." I attached the receipts. They didn't respond for 2 days. Then Ryan called. "Mom, this is insane." His voice was tight, like he was trying to stay calm for Leslie's sake, but I could hear the heat underneath. "I'm charging for what I paid," I said, walking through the quiet garden path behind the hotel. The sun was warm on my shoulders. Out of my third, nothing more. "You can't just—" "We didn't agree to that. You didn't ask if I agreed to live in the garage either." He fell quiet. I kept walking, passing a mother with a stroller and a small dog trotting beside her. I remembered pushing Ryan when he was small, how he'd giggle and ask me to go faster. Faster, like nothing in the world could ever catch him. "I'm not angry," I said after a while. "But I won't pretend anymore that this didn't happen, that you didn't let it. It wasn't like that," he muttered. "You said you were fine." "I said that because you're my son. I wanted to believe you loved me." "Of course I love you." "Then maybe," I said gently, "try acting like it." The house sold within 3 months. I signed the documents at Harold's office. Leslie didn't show up. Ryan kept his head down, barely speaking. He signed quickly, like it all hurt too much, or like he still thought I might change my mind if he looked me in the eye. Harold nodded when it was over and handed me a folder. "Your share," he said. "After deducting the suite expenses, there's still quite a bit left." I took it and stood. "You sure you don't want to teach a class on quiet revenge?" Harold said with a smirk. I smiled. "I don't believe in revenge," I said, "but I do believe in receipts." I found a studio apartment 2 blocks from the water. Small, yes, but warm. With windows that faced east, catching the morning sun, and a garden patch out front with room for herbs and a single tomato plant. I painted the kitchen yellow. I bought a second-hand bookshelf and filled it with novels and photo albums. I hung our wedding photo in the hallway, in a simple oak frame, right where I passed it every morning. There was no garage, just a home. Lily came to visit in the fall. She showed up with a purple scarf around her neck and a bag of lemon muffins she'd baked herself. She was taller now, more self-conscious, but she hugged me like she meant it. "I'm glad you have a real place," she said, looking around. "It smells like you here." We sat in the garden, and I taught her how to repot lavender. She asked about Grandpa. I told her stories Ryan never had time to hear, about our road trip to Maine, how Charles once built a porch swing just because I'd mentioned loving the one at my aunt's house. "Did Dad help?" she asked. I shook my head. "Not really, but he was small then." She nodded, and for a moment I saw something flicker in her expression, a quiet understanding, maybe even a wish to do better. Ryan sent a letter before Christmas, a real letter, handwritten. I read it slowly, in my favorite chair, as the kettle warmed behind me. "Mom, I'm sorry for everything. I don't know why I let it go that far. I guess I was scared, or selfish, or both. Leslie and I are working through things. I don't blame you for how it all ended. I hope you're happy. Love, Ryan." I folded it neatly and put it in a drawer. Maybe one day I'd answer, maybe not. But I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for anything from him. That part of me, the quiet, hurt mother who sat on a cold mattress with tears in her throat, had been laid to rest. Sometimes in the morning, I make 2 cups of tea. I set one across from me, next to a fresh flower from the garden. I talk to Charles like he's still listening, and in many ways I think he is. Now I live where I choose. I wake when I want. I breathe freely, I laugh out loud. And no one puts me in the garage. Ever again.